Welcome to episode 1077 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, July 15th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm officially day-to-day as I'm trying to play through an injury right now.
I heard IL stint all the way, dude. I cut you.
I think at this point, you might be better off. I could be out 3 to 4 weeks.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, the break's coming up, which is good,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to cut you, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for those
Let's tell the folks what happened.
Yeah, I didn't even tweet it out, so no one has any idea. So playing softball last night, pulled a hamstring. I'm 37 years old. I try and like 275 pounds and trying to beat out a grounder that I was going to beat out either way because the guy biffed it at shortstop and popped my hammy and this is not good. First time ever. Like I've never I've been playing sports since I was like 5 years old and
that is a positive at least.
Yeah, I've never pulled a hamstring before. I don't even know if I've ever really strained a muscle like this before. I mean, but not good.
Not good at all. Hopefully you feel better, and you said you're feeling a little bit better from yesterday.
I can walk. That's a start.
That is an improvement. So I don't know, but like I said, I had to cut you. I don't know if I'm going to replace you with any of these guys that we're going to talk about today. Though we're going to do first half dud review of hitters, a mix of duds. They're not all like high end picks. In fact, they kind of run the gamut. We got some early picks, we got some mid, and even some late picks, but they're all struggling massively. And really what we want to get to the bottom of is if there's anything worth getting into for the second half. Who are the guys on this list that you want? So let's just dive right in. Let's start with a interesting rookie that we saw out at the Fall League in Bryson Stott. He got the he got the shot. He's been getting the opportunity. 61 games played this year. He was up to start, went down, and then came back up, right? That's been his trajectory. 6 homers, 3 steals, but a 187, 256, 301 line for Stott. 207 BABIP. That really hurts. I mean, the plate skills are okay. 20% K, 9% walk. I got no problems with that. 7% swinging strike rate is really good for Stott. He's just been bad. What's going on with Stott, and what do you see for the future, Justin?
Oh man, this is hard because I felt like he was getting better, but you look at the numbers over the month of July, he's still hitting 200. It's
I felt the same thing, by the way, and had to look and go, because the only league I have him in is a draft champions, and he's in the lineup because I have to have him in the lineup. So I haven't been paying attention to the day-to-day. My perception of looking at the box scores every day was that Stott was playing better. But like you said, that's a 238 average and 4 homers in June and a 200 average and 2 homers this month for Stott. So it's not really that good. It is that, what this messed up part is, Justin, it's a massive improvement on what he did from May.
He's still hitting with a 176 BABIP during the month of July. So it's he's still getting a bit unlucky. Now, when we say he's getting unlucky, his average for the year is 187 and his X batting average is 237.
That's a pretty good split.
That's a pretty good split, right? But he still wouldn't be he'd be still below league average in terms of batting average. So
true, but you talk about
you'd be palatable.
Skills. Yeah, that you can be palatable at 237, and put it on the other side and give some BABIP good luck. Put him at a 340 BABIP. Then what are we talking about with Stott? So, okay, let me say this for sure. Definitely not out long term. However, no one gives a crap about 2023 right now. We need to know what's going on for the rest of this year. Is Stott somebody you would seek out for the second half? And if so, what formats specifically?
I think the only real place he becomes interesting is probably in a 15-team mixed or deeper. Here's the thing, and we've seen this with Philadelphia hitters, is their minor league parks are so hitter friendly that these numbers get kind of overinflated. That being said, there's a lot to like actually in Stott's profile. I mean, the zone contact is around 88%. He doesn't swing out of the zone.
What's the average there on zone contact?
It's around 84, 85.
So
So
he's
I mean,
trending
he's
over average for
yeah,
Stott.
and when you start getting into the 90s, you start seeing like guys who are more elite in terms of their zone contact skills. His swing and strike rate is only 6.7%. Like he's
Yeah,
shown
that's really
really
good.
good plate skills, really good underlying skills. I think maybe a little bit of a change in approach. Like he doesn't pull the ball a ton, and maybe he just needs to start pulling it more. He's pulling around 33% of the time. He gets the ball in the air a decent amount, and he's not hitting on the ball on the ground a ton. I feel like this is gonna get better. Maybe not like the type of level that some people in the industry were kind of thinking like, oh, he's gonna be a star or anything, but like I think he can get to a point where he is like an average fantasy player.
Yeah.
Especially in a 15 team mix, which then means he becomes viable in a 12 teamer. So
Yeah,
like
I
if
mean,
he's out there in a 15 teamer, I think I'd take the shot on him, but I don't think anything shallower than that he's viable quite yet.
not yet. I agree. Don't jump on Stott for a 12 team. I don't think you need to be doing that at this juncture. He's 62% rostered at the main event. I think if I'm a bottom half team and I'm looking for things that could come on the cheap that could pop, I do think Stott is intriguing enough to kind of
Mhm.
make him the play at middle infield there. For me, this is not a Scott Kingery situation, which the same way that some people had reservations about Julio tied to Kelnick, it's illogical, and we know that.
Mhm.
But sometimes our brains lead us down illogical routes, and you have to divorce players from each other because they don't, they're not the same. So Kingery is not Stott, and vice versa.
So are you
Um,
saying he's not a Kingery because Kingery was good one year?
no, I'm saying he's not a
Oh,
Kingery because
because he's not going to be like out of the league here, and
yeah. I'm saying because I'm not out on him, and I don't think he's a total flop the way Kingery has kind of
I
looks to
think
be at this juncture.
one of the benefits to Stott is he's a pretty decent defender, and he,
Yes, and
you
he's
know,
playing
well,
like a new position, isn't he? At third base, like that's not
he's been playing second,
okay.
uh,
Okay,
so he's always played a few games at third, but
okay. Pardon me
he's,
for
he's
that.
mostly played at second base and shortstop, kind of splitting his time between there. 33 games at second, 30 games at shortstop, which is nice because he gets that multi-positional eligibility. So, like, if
Mhm.
you're putting him on your reserve list as kind of a fill-in, he's covering both those middle infield spots for you, which is something I always like to have. I think that people when you look at someone's minor league numbers, and we're talking about a lot of guys who are coming up from the minor leagues over the last few weeks, and probably more they're going to be coming up after the break
For
and into
sure.
September. You need to look up like how these stadiums play because
That's a good call because Reading is crazy. They're
yeah,
double A in Philly.
I mean, Scott Kingery is the example, right? Like
Mhm.
a guy who just was like crushing the ball for the Phillies in Triple A and in Double A, and then came up and was like, hey, can't hit his body weight. So I mean, I think you have to take some of the especially if guys are playing in the PCL, some of those parks, like take those numbers with a grain of salt and really rely on like Eric Lagenhagen does such great jobs over at the site, like just breaking down like what a player projects to be, right? Like how much power he really projects to have, or how much speed, or and I know that his lists aren't fantasy centric, and there's some great fantasy prospect guys out in the industry, but like read scouting reports and kind of on these guys, and so you don't get tricked into being like, oh, this guy, he stole 40 bases, he's going to be a burner when he comes up. Well, he really has average speed, and he's just kind of taking advantage of really bad
Mhm.
pitching and catching in high A or something like that. So
No,
uh,
that's a great point, and one that it's like, oh, I do have to remember that. And sometimes things don't translate. And
mhm,
also you can go the other way with that though too. A guy who doesn't have great speed rating does have good steals because he's really sharp on the bases as well.
mhm,
So you gotta the park factors part can be tough though. I used to go to Stat Corner. They don't have
mhm.
Stat Corner is not what it used to be. They don't have minor league park factors. So I know some, like I said, I know Reading is a legit place to hit, but I don't know where to get the minor league park factors these days to get a read
I
on
talked
things.
about Eric for a while. You know what I do is, like, if I have a question, I just ask. Like, most prospect guys on, like, if you talk to, you know, Eric Logenhagen on Twitter or Matt Thompson on Twitter
They probably
or
got them
James
committed to memory,
Anderson,
right?
they know these parks.
Yeah.
Like, you talk to like any of like the major prospect guys, you know, or gals over on Twitter, like they'll tell you like, hey, this is like this park just plays up for right-handed hitters, or this park, you know, is like, you know, cavernous, and that's why like this guy's been struggling at Double-A. So
Like
you
we
don't be
know
afraid to ask.
PCL in general is pretty high, but it's not everywhere, by the way. I'm actually looking at some numbers. I found some from MILB from last year, looking at the PCL and International League, the two AAAs. And yes, like Isotopes Park in Albuquerque is crazy for homers.
Yeah,
But then you got
Reno is
somewhere,
crazy. Yeah.
you got somewhere like Portland Beavers, PGE Park. Oh, wait, that's from 2010. Never mind. But they had a 0.68 homer rate. So not everywhere in the PCL was necessarily playing at that level.
I'm sure, yeah, I don't think Tacoma plays.
Oh, that article,
like,
wait, that article is old as hell, by the way. But the PCL, as we know, the ball does fly generally out there. So it is worth knowing that. Stott did play in some good spots, but he never was bad. His lowest stop in the minors was a 130 WRC plus. The bottom line is you're not going to get me to throw him out after 211 plate appearances. Justin seems to agree. We're at least keeping tabs on him and could see a second half pickup. Let's go to a more established veteran who has had some false starts this year. And I even thought at one point we had a Scopening on the way for Jonathan Schoop because he gets these, you know, usually a couple times a year, has these periods where he is the best hitter in baseball for like 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how long they last. Like I said, he's had a few flirtations with them, but we haven't gotten over the hump. Has the juice run out, or does Schoop have a second half jump that could be a Scopening of sorts?
Well, he's kind of in the midst of a Scopening right
He
now.
started one, yes. It's no power yet.
No, but he's got 4 stolen bases.
I know,
in
that's
this
crazy.
Scopening, which is crazy because I was talking about it with someone else the other day. I was like, if you had told me that Jonathan Schoop is going to steal 5 bases this year, I would have been like, oh, whoa, he's actually you know, really moving up my charts if he's hadn't stolen bases to this.
I'd have said, oh, they extended the game or the season to 200 games. That's cool.
Like they must have given him some sort of advantage. Like it's like 45 feet in between bases for him. So yeah, I mean he's in 358 during the month of July. But like I said, there's no power. And remember when we were talking early in the season and he was struggling? I made the comment that, you know, there are certain guys with the ball change that like go from fence scrapers to doubles hitters or fly out hitters, and Schoop was one of the guys that I was really worried about.
You were.
And while the ball seems to have been changed back and other guys are hitting for power, Schoop just isn't quite getting there. And you got to wonder, like, has his bat speed just slowed down a little bit kind of as he's gotten older, that his homer power is turned into just doubles power at this point?
That certainly could be it. It's 7% homer to fly ball rate, though. It is in half from last year. Now, to your point, though, is that the ball? Because while the ball is better from April, by the way, it's not like we are on a juicy ball. Like it's like I said, it's better from April because it couldn't possibly get worse, but it's still a more pitcher favorable ball. Like the offensive numbers have not fixed themselves. So with somebody like Schoop or the players that you're talking about like that, does that lack of power manifest in lowered homer to fly ball rates that we should not expect to regress? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think he's one of those guys that he probably will have another week or two like where he like is out of his mind playing well, but I think those for him may be fewer and far between because he just doesn't have prodigious power in the way maybe other guys do, or that he did earlier on in his career. We're talking about a guy who's, you know, max exit velocity is down like 5 miles an hour this year, and barrel percentage is down. You know, and you mix that with a park that isn't super favorable to hitters to begin with, and a new ball that's just taking a little bit of the oomph off the ball for him. And I think you got a guy that probably should be cut in all formats. It's hard because he's, again, one of these guys, he's not just multi-position eligible, he's eligible at corner and middle, which makes him perfect to kind of fill, 4 different positions in your lineup. But
and now he's stealing.
Yeah, I
don't think we should
Miguel
predict those.
Cabrera got a stolen base the other night. Like
third. He stole
yeah,
third.
he's third. Yeah,
it was amazing.
He's just like, I was watching the replay of it, and it's like he just decided, I'm going. Like,
the throw a good throw gets him by a mile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so everyone knows.
Or
I will tell you,
or a pitcher paying attention at all.
Yeah, exactly. Just steps off, turns around. Scope 100% rostered in main event still.
I'm surprised.
And
I think he's been dropped
started.
though. I think people have been.
I think so too. I think maybe even in our league. Yeah, he was cut on 7-3 and picked up on 7-10 in our league. So he was recently cut. Jonathan Scope was. So, I totally hear everything you're saying with the power. And I remember when you said that early in the season, you mentioned Jeimer Candelario as another guy. And look what he's been doing. He has even less power than Scope. He is much more of a doubles guy. And he's been fluttering a bit too with just 6 homers, a 191 average for Jeimer. He's not on our list, but like he's another guy like that. So, when Scope gets going, and like you said, he is kind of going so far this month without the pop yet. But when he gets going, he's obviously electric. I'm fine picking him up, during a hot streak, but my power expectations have come down until I start seeing that homer to fly ball number regress. I'm fully convinced by your concerns for the power.
Well, part of the problem even with like this hot streak in July, where like I said, he's hitting 358, his fly ball rate is only 22%.
So that's line drives and ground balls that are just, he's probably had a nice BABIP too to go with it. So, Scope has had some supplemental value with stolen bases, and I'll take us into our next guy, Nikki Lopez, who Jonathan Scope is matching in stolen bases this year. Not sure too many saw that. Lopez had the breakout season last year. He hit 300 with 22 steals in 23 attempts. And, it earned him some fantasy juice this year. It has not held up. It seems as though the 347 BABIP was the main driver there, and he was very successful on the bases this year. 5 for 7, BABIP back down from 347 to 280, and he's hitting 240 again. So Nikki Lopez, was he a flash in the pan, or is there regression coming back his way? He's a 301 career BABIP, but the 347 last year was far and away a career best for Nikki Lopez. What say you about his second half?
I think his second half is going to be better and closer to, from a hitting standpoint, closer to what we saw last year. You look over what he's doing over the last month, and his own contact is like 93, 94%. Like, he's going back to being the guy that he was, and he really struggled early on in the season. Like, I almost was wondering, like, does he have like an eye issue? Because he cannot, like, he's a guy who's made 90% zone contact in his career. So we're talking about like one of the elite guys in terms of zone contact. And last year was fantastic for him. He went down to like 70%, 77, 72%, like in the first month or so. And we're talking about a guy who's way below league average at it, and has no pop. My bigger concern with Lopez is when he is getting on base, he's not running. He only has 7 stolen base attempts this year, and he's 5 for 7. It feels like the Royals, once Mondesi went down, we're now without Mondesi, we're not a running team.
They and of all the people to get slowed down, you wouldn't have thought Nikki Lopez would get like a yellow light put on him to where he only has 7 attempts, because Bobby Witt has 20, Whit Merrifield has 16. So it seems more specific with Lopez. Now, part of it might be the 295 OBP, of course, but I wonder if there's something about Nikki Lopez that is has made them slow him down right now. That part is really interesting to me, that he's just not taking the volume of runs at all.
Yeah. So do I think things are going to get better? I do. But do I think that he's going to... Yeah, and here's the thing, like, and we've seen this with Mondesi over the last few years, right? Like, guys who are fast and can steal a bunch of bases can change their value at the end of the season just dramatically
Oh, I mean,
by a
look at
hot
Birdie.
month. Yeah, John Birdie is a great example, right? So, like, I don't want to bury a guy like this, but I also, like the floor is a lot lower than I had expected it to
Yeah,
be.
and look, I was not a Nikki Lopez guy. There's no shot that I was buying into this profile. This is not the kind of profile I like. So this is kind of where I was with him. So I'm not that surprised. That said, I'm not going to be foolish enough to just ignore him completely. If I need steals, Nikki Lopez is still somebody I'm going to keep tabs on, especially in a 10 or 12 where he's definitely on the wire. You can at least keep him on your watch list. And if you need steals and he starts to trend upward, you can jump on. But I'm not really going for Nikki Lopez in any sort of league right now on any sort of buy low. Right now, it's hard not to look at 2021 and just see it as the clear positive outlier.
Yeah, I mean, I picked him up. I think, is it an R main or yeah, I picked him up in R main.
Okay, when did you do that?
I think
a
week or two ago. I can't remember exactly.
Now, you're going to probably point this out, but one of the reasons you likely did is because he's second, third, and short. Yeah.
Yeah. He's triple eligible. And so if you're dealing with a lot of injuries or you just want added flexibility to your roster, like he's worth a reserve pick. Like, I mean, he could easily steal 20 plus bases rest of the way. So, and stolen bases is one of the spots in our league, especially like that super bunch. So, a guy who adds 10 or 15 stolen bases to your team could help you win a league. So, as Scott Genstedt knows with his 23 stolen bases from fucking John Birdie. So,
although his stomach dropped earlier this week when he went out, unfortunately. Although he did leave a parting gift, even in the game he went out, and hopefully everything's okay with Birdie's groin. But he did steal a base in that time. Now, I want to say that you're familiar with the SB opportunity percentage that Baseball HQ has.
Yeah.
So I don't have a perfect frame of reference here. So I don't know if a 4-point drop is devastating or not. I don't think it is because in 2020, it was 12%. Last year it was 14%. This year it's 10%. So he doesn't have as many opportunities, but I don't think that explains why Nikki Lopez has only run 7 times.
Yeah.
Right.
It just seems weird.
It's not that crazy, or is it? Or do you have a frame of reference?
I have no frame of reference.
I don't know what average is.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but it just seems weird that the team stopped running so much. Now they've started picking back up. If you look over the last 30 days, they're like 5th in the league in terms of stolen bases. Kansas City Royals are.
So they're getting back on their grind.
It seems like they're getting back to running. So maybe that means that, and with Lopez hitting better, he's hitting 300 over the last month. Maybe he gets kind of back going, and stealing bases. But just it's just disappointing to see a guy that was just
18th round pick in our league. He was cut. This is still Nikki Lopez we're talking about. He was cut on 4/17. So Jason Gill, a good player, smart guy, said, I'm out after 10 days, and he has not looked back because he was not wrong. A week later, what was I thinking? Picked him up for 42. He cut him on picked him up on April 24th, cut him on 6/12. He sat out there for almost a month, and then you picked him up on 7/3, Nikki Lopez for $4, which that can't hurt you no matter how that goes.
Yeah, over the last month, he's hitting 305, but he has 3 stolen base attempts, and he's 1 for 2 in those 3 stolen base attempts, or 1 for 3. So yeah, I mean, that's just pain. That's he's hitting the ball well right now. I think quietly, I think he's worth, especially if you need batting average. Like I think he, or stolen bases. Like I think he's worth taking the gamble on, especially in a deeper format. But even at 12 with the triple eligibility makes sense as kind of a bench fill-in guy. But the problem is he's got to start running to make himself worth anything. Otherwise, he's, a probably worse version than Luis Ariz.
Yeah, I mean, because the batting average isn't even there right now. So it's like a worse
it is over the last month.
Over the last month. Yeah. But right now, maybe he's like a worse version of Stephen Kwan.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Let's go back to my Tigers and talk about Spencer Torkelson. The last time we talked about him was back in mid-May on our buy low or no-go hitters I actually don't remember where we came out on him. I probably would have remained positive because I've been pretty positive. And we actually talked about Nikki Lopez in that same episode. I've been positive in that I believe that Torque is a full major leaguer. I don't really see the value in sending him back to AAA, despite how much he's struggling. But I'm not as bullish going forward for the rest of this year, just based on what we've seen. The simple fact is, while the plate skills are fine, his demeanor, from what I can observe, which is limited, of course, what I see during the games or whatever, seems fine for a major leaguer. But he's just not striking the ball that well. Like, the simple fact is, Torque's power just hasn't been there. 38% hard hit, 7% barrel rate. Those are both below league average. And while I do firmly believe in him long term, I'm not as gung ho for this year. What say you about the rest of Spencer Torkelson's season? For a while, I maintained that he'd have a summer heater. I'm less certain of that now.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting the ball on the ground like 44% of the time, as opposed to just a 38% fly ball percentage.
And it's not hard. If it was
not
hard grounders, I would at least say he's smashing the ball.
Mm-hmm. He's getting a little bit unlucky in balls in play. Like, his XBA is like 238. So he should be hitting a little bit better, but like you said, like, he's just not hitting well. Like, I mean, even if he was hitting 238, you'd be disappointed, considering, like, that's come with 5 home runs this year. This is the guy that you thought was going to be like a middle of the order power bet. And it just, something's in the water in Detroit. Like, it's just,
bro, it's bad.
You feel bad for, like, just Tigers fans in general right now, because there was such a bright future, it seemed, in
year.
And this year might be the beginning of it. And then, Mize goes down, Javier Baez, like, completely forgets how to hit, like, after signing that deal. Like, I remember, like, after Baez signed the deal, and people were like, and I think you were one of them, like, people were like really wanting Correa. And I was all like, don't worry about it. This is going to look way better than a Correa deal. I was wrong.
I got sold on it. I was like, okay, I get it. This is cheaper. He's still an elite defender. And I will say, by the way, the defense is still there.
Yeah. He's still a premium athlete. And that's the crazy part. But like, every part of the profile that we've talked about is like red flags in terms of like how he approaches in at bat has like all come to fruition this season. Like,
absolutely,
all at the same time. Like, he has a poor plate approach. He swings wildly, and he swings over the top of shit. And like, I just don't, like, you almost want to send him down, but you can't send down the guy you just gave like a fucking 7-year, $180 million contract or whatever it was.
The AL learned, though, because he's facing 35% sliders, the most of his career. What was the NL doing for all those years? Just force feed him sliders. Javi Baez will strike out. His pitch value, like how he does against them in the form of pitch value, minus 11.2 on sliders. Like, that, for those, you don't have to have a frame of reference for pitch values. That's very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
To be like, he's just getting owned on that. And I know we started this on Torque, but yeah, Baez could have been on this list because he's been a nightmare himself. And righties, it's the righties, it's the righty sliders. 179, 230, 318 against righties this year. Excuse me, against righties, and the sliders are what they're feeding him constantly. So
yeah, pitchers are only throwing in the zone 34.6% of the time. Why would you? Because he swings outside of the zone almost 50% of the time, and he's got a 19% swinging strike rate. Baez does. Like, this is.
It was only a 1-year deal, right?
No, this is. Hey, at least he'll be a premium defender for you guys.
Yeah, sweet. We got John McDonald for the next 5 years.
Awesome. What a pull! Oh my god! And he's a fun face.
Hey, he's awesome, dude. Like, I still love Javi, even though he's not good right now.
We can just put him on the rundown.
He's very easy to root for. He's a fun guy, nice guy.
going back to Torkelson.
Yeah, go back to Torque. Where are you at on him the rest of this year? Because long term, I think I'm still in. Are you still in long term?
I'm in long term for sure. Like if someone's trying to sell low in a dynasty league or anything like that, I'm buying. But as of this year, like there's very little in the profile, and things can change. A guy with his talent level, like all of a sudden he could go on a heater, and you're like, oh man, like he hits 10 home runs in a month or something like that, and you go, okay, he just salvaged a season, and that is in the profile for sure. Yep. That being said, like I don't know how he's rosterable in any format at this point.
Exactly,
like,
and for
outside
of
AL only.
For a while, I didn't want to let him go because of exactly what you're talking about, that potential heater. But now I ended up letting him go. I think Colin and I are going to let him go this week. He saved himself with a Sunday homer the other day, and we had other cuts. But it's to the point where I'm like, okay, he might do that. I'm going to have to either buy it back off the wire or just not get it from Torque if he does have that 8 to 10 homer month. So I'm still bullish long term. Short term, not so much until we see it change. Let's go to your boy, Brandon Marsh, who started off the season pretty well.
You just skipping all the other guys? We just
wait. Oh, hang on? Did my player list order them differently? Yes, it did. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, my player. I made a little board with all these guys. It put Marsh after Torque. Excuse me on that. Yeah, let's stay with the Tigers. We can just do half the Tigers team. I moved Baez up.
Yeah, we already did Baez.
So now there's Robbie Grossman. And I guess I'll just go with this. First off, were you in on him with the Steelers last year?
I was.
So you're getting burned by this. Then the second question.
Well, I'm not getting burned by it anymore because I dropped him. Like I
don't blame you at all.
I was like, hey, here, Scott Jen said you pick him up, and then Scott Jen said just dropped him this week.
Does Robbie Grossman get going after a trade? He has to be traded. Like there's no universe where he's not traded.
I don't know that he is traded, but I think he should. They really like Robbie Grossman. Like
this is the second year of the deal, though. Like why would they keep him?
Why the Tigers doing half the things they're doing?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one way he might not be traded though is if the outfield market is just too much better elsewhere, and people the music stops and nobody has a spot for him. That could be it for Grossman. I started piecing together the team needs and the team players that are going to be available for our trade preview next week. And maybe there's just too many outfielders available and then nobody wants Grossman. So you might be right there.
I think he'll probably get traded. It would make a lot of sense. Like you said, it's like the last year of his deal. The problem is if he gets traded, is he an everyday player somewhere
exactly.
else? I don't know that he is. I think he's likely like a part-timer or maybe just a straight-up bench guy that only plays 2 days a week.
I agree.
Given, and he doesn't play center, so like it's not like he adds premium defense or anything like that.
And his OBP isn't there this year to add that. I mean, it is a 103-point split, so if he gets the batting average up, like it's still there with the 12% walk rate for Robbie Grossman. Like there are still positives, but the question is like, is the batting average going to come up? Because it's not a BABIP related. He has a 297 BABIP. That's 10 points off his career mark. Why is Robbie Grossman only hitting 205, Justin?
You have to wonder, like, was last year just a fluke? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, he's not doing anything in the plate skills that tells me, like, hey, like, he's swinging out to the zone a ton, or he's just not making contact within the zone. Like, he's kind of in line with where he was last year. I mean, I think, part of the difference is like the max exit velocity is down 5 miles an hour. And I think, his barrel percentage is down again, in the same way that Jonathan Scope is down from like last year. It was at 7.6%. This year it's at 3.8%. I think he's one of these guys. Like Jonathan Scope that is just a fence scraper. And now with the ball change, even though it's gotten better, it hasn't gotten that much better for a guy like him. And, a lot of the things that we're seeing going over the fence last year or hitting the fence last year are now stopping warning track or stopping halfway through the outfield.
Especially in that park too, like you mentioned earlier, that park sucks for hitting. You don't want to hit in Comerica, especially in center. Actually, they're down the right field or down the left field line, I think is good, but the rest of it is tough. And Grossman, he's not running. He spiked that 20 steal season. That's why most people bought him, because he's a kind of a steady Eddie everywhere else. And oh wow, he started running. The Tigers are going to let him run.
For me, like, you know, you were able to get him in like the 11th, 12th round as a 2020 candidate. Like, I mean, how many, you know, and all you have to do is pair him with Akil Baddoo and you're fine, right?
You're golden, dude.
And all you know, Andrew Benintendi, right? Like,
and you're set,
like,
and you're just set, baby. Akil Baddoo back in the matrix.
I was at that main event. I was like, when I was looking at my outfield of Brian Reynolds, Andrew Benintendi, Alex Verdugo, and Robbie Grossman. I was like, dude, I'm set. I'm set. This team is awesome. I might be a little short on power, but I'm fine.
I'll take my 60 homers from 4 guys. Let's go.
What the hell? Like, I mean,
hey, but your team is still very much in contention. Our standings are wild. I needed I needed a pep talk the other day. I was like, damn, dude, I dropped 1,000,000 points. I'm in 14th. I don't know what's going on. You're like, nah, dude, our standings are crazy. You're fine. Appreciated the pep talk, by the way. The very next day, I gained 12 points. You lost only 2, but we were 8th and 9th.
Yeah, somehow I was in first place on Sunday, and now I am in 8th place after only losing like 4 points.
Our league is wild.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's going to take a long time to settle. It's nowhere near settled.
It's going to be decided in the last month. This is going to be.
I think so. I think the last 2 weeks, or maybe even the very last week, like it's coming down to it. It's going to be wild, and maybe Robbie Grossman will decide again, but I doubt it.
Like we talked about on Tuesday. Don't give up in your league. Like these standings, like I just went, like I said, went from first place. I had like 108 points or something. And now I'm in, 5 days later, I'm in 8th place with like 86 or 85 points or something like that. Like,
and it's not like you had a bunch of bad events.
No, I didn't have any bad, like, my team isn't hitting like, my body weight. It's hitting closer to your body weight right now. But, like I shouldn't have dropped that many points. It just the standings are still really fluid. Like, and like we mentioned, people are gonna start moving to football. In a lot of leagues, people will not pay attention during Fab this weekend because it's the beginning of the All-Star break. Like, you could
get bargains this week.
Yeah.
Like depending on your league. I don't think our league, like we have the people that we have in our league, we're not getting bargains, but generally speaking, you can snake some bargains around this time. And like you said, people are going to start going to football. It just happens. Like, even people in the industry who are obviously going to continue to care about their baseball teams. I'm not saying like a Vlad Sedler is going to be not caring about his teams. Of course he is. But as football creeps in,
they have to divide their attention. They have to divide their attention. And they're going to be people who completely, I mean, look at Sirius XM, like they completely move over to football. Yeah. Around this
mandated
time.
By the way, too. I don't know that all the hosts
because there's more money in it. No,
and I get it because football is so popular. They want them talking about it in like February.
Yeah,
they want them to like oust baseball by February, but no, things are going to start shifting to football hard, and you can take advantage of that. Even if you play football, fine. Do get your lists ready and everything, but do not quit on your baseball team. The summer is the time to move. Let's continue on our list here. Now we get to Randall Gritchuck in Colorado. Listen, I fell for this. I thought, hey, he's going to Colorado, a quality power hitter, like just a solid hitter going to Colorado. He's going to get inflated. This will be great. Instead, he's been like a pure Coors guy in that every ounce of his good work is in Coors, and he's an unplayable slug on the road. He has an 8, and here's the problem too. His Coors work isn't that great. 804 OPS at home is like fine, but when you have a 520 on the road like Randall Gritchuck does, you wind up with a combined 681, and you're on a lot of waiver wires. Do we just overrate Gritchuck going to Colorado, or is he not getting the full benefits of that wonderful place to hit?
No, I think we overrated him and Coors.
And this shows that that stadium does not make a player. You have to be good.
Yeah, and I think people like just automatically think Coors and power, and then that's not actually the case. Like it's not like a home run hitter haven. What it has is like they enlarge that outfield, and
it's a hits haven.
It's a hits haven. And so like in that regard, I'm a little surprised like he's still hitting 247 because I mean this is a guy who's hitting 241 last year in Toronto, and so you would expect the BABIP has been up compared to last year and compared to previous seasons as well, but it hasn't been up in the way that you would think would be like carrying him to like a 280, 290 batting average with the power. I don't know, man. Like he's hitting like 53% ground balls. Like it's
That's the biggest problem with Gritchuck. Like, hey man, you're in the wrong spot to be doing that. And it's a major change. So it leads me to ask you 40% up to 53%, a 13-point jump over Gritchuck's career mark on the ground ball. Is he nursing something? Is he nicked?
He could be. That would make a lot of sense. Yeah, and it's starting to trend back the other way, but like very, very little. Like he's still 48%. I feel like he's lost. Like I feel like he is trying to swing his way out of things. He's making good contact, in terms of his zone contact percentage. Like 88% zone contact percentage is above league average, right? It's getting close to that 90% that we really want to see and we'd love to see. But yeah, he's hitting the ball hard right now. Like, I wonder if like things are gonna slowly, like it's not gonna be like a drastic change where we go, oh look, in July he really put it together or something like that. But if it's like just gonna slowly trend up to the point where he is a usable guy in August and September, but not like winning your leagues, like. So, in that sense, you could probably drop him, honestly. If I've got him in Tout Wars. I spent $222 on him in Fab because we draft so early.
Yeah.
And then he got traded, and I was all like, hey, this is a potential 30 home run bat now in Coors.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going to go aggressive and hope that I got a guy that's really going to carry my offense, and all he's done is just wrecked me.
He has not carried it.
I've got so much offense in this league. I just need to trade for pitching, and nobody will trade with me.
How dare they? They don't want you to win. They don't want you to be great, Justin. So, yeah, I understand Gritchuck getting cut, because he's in Coors. Whenever there's a Coors series or week coming up, I imagine that he'll start to garner some attention and keep an eye on him. But you don't need to hold him. I'm not sure. I think it's only because it's Coors, but I'm not sure that Gritchuck needs to be 100% rostered at the NFBC, or at the main event, I should say.
I know you said like there's a stark difference, but did you say the actual, I don't know, did you say the actual numbers of what his home road splits are?
Yeah, the 804, was it 592 on the road?
Yeah, he's hitting
520 on the road,
295 at home, and 185 on the road. Like
that's crazy, and not enough power at home though, because 295 is obviously great,
but just 7 home runs.
Yeah, like I need if he had a 950 OPS at home, that's something we can work with, because then at least we're just playing Gritchuck at home. But right now, that like 804 at home, who cares? 520 on the road, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gritchuck, at the very least, reserve him. If you want to hang on to him because it's a Rocky and you like to have a piece of the Colorado offense, okay, but at least reserve him because you're taking a beating right now. Now we get to Brandon Marsh. Sorry, like I said, my board was out of order versus how I wrote him on the rundown. Your boy Brandon Marsh, it's all the strikeouts, right? We don't have to complicate it, but I still need to get your thoughts on it. 6 homers, 7 steals. Not too bad if you double that up, which you can at this point. He literally has 81 games. It's still dangerous to do that, but he's pacing toward 12 and 13 or 12 and 14, which is a ho-hum decent season, double. But he's striking out 36% of the time, Justin, with only a 6% walk rate. That's too much swing and miss. Can Brandon Marsh recover from it? He struck out at a similar clip last year. Is this who he is, or is there light at the end of the tunnel to fix this for Marsh?
Oh man, this is hard because like you said, he is my boy.
You love this guy,
and he's fun to love this guy. And things have started, like the underlying numbers, they've started to like get a little bit better, but they're still bad. Like there isn't anything under the hood where I go, hey, this is what we can hold on to. Other than the fact that he is a very good defensive player. And
that helps with playing time.
That helps with playing time a little bit, But from an offense perspective, he's got a, like a 79% zone contact rate. He's swinging outside the zone 37% of the time. Swing and strike rate is high. When he is making contact, a lot of it's going on the ground. He's not hitting the ball with a ton of power. Like, there's nothing really in the profile that tells me that things are going to get better. There really isn't.
Yeah.
And I think if you are still rostering him, you should have already moved on. But if you haven't, please do.
Yeah, I mean, that's coming from one of the biggest Marsh super fans that you can find. He's 79% in the main event, but is available in ours. And I got to say, I think our league's doing it right. I'm not sure that he needs to be rostered. 79% seems high for what Marsh is doing, but I imagine it's the power and the speed combo that keeps him on some rosters with the 7 stolen bases and 6.
I mean,
so
he's hitting 223 right now for the season, and he's actually getting lucky on balls in play. He's not one of these guys who's getting unlucky. No, he's not like getting like super lucky, but like his XBA is actually lower than his actual BA. Like he is.
That's crazy.
There's nothing in this profile that tells me things are gonna change for the better.
Yeah, I can't see it either right now with Brandon Marsh. So if you're hanging on for some faith, more than anything else, prospect faith, because there's nothing in the numbers that's gonna get you going.
He's getting beat on fastballs, and then he's swinging at stuff that breaks. Like that's a rough combo. Yeah, like he's just getting beat. Like he honestly needs to go back to AAA and rework some things because he's just getting beat by every pitcher.
Yeah, 36% strikeout rate is it's egregious. It's the second highest on this list behind this next guy, but this guy has proven that he can have some success with egregious strikeout rates because he walks a ton and has prodigious power, and that's Joey Gallo. These last 4 guys here are more in the star to superstar class that are struggling, whereas those other guys were more mid-tier players. But Joey Gallo only has 10 homers, 29 runs, 21 ribbies, 2 steals, 15% walk rate, which is brilliant, but 38% Ks and a 164 batting average for Joey Gallo. Yes, the BABIP is low. That's kind of his game, though, because he hits the ball in the air over 50% of the time. So you can't even say like, oh, the BABIP's going to regress. It's at 231 versus a career 261. I don't even think those 30 points would make his batting average palatable. He's at 164 right now. So what do you do with him, Justin? We know what to expect with Joey Gallo, but this is the very worst of this otherwise extreme profile. Is Joey Gallo somebody that you see a second half surge coming from, especially after he wasn't very good in New York last year either?
Absolutely not. So he has a 74% zone contact rate.
Yikes.
I mean, that's 10% below league average. Like, he swings out. He doesn't swing out the side of the zone like a ton because he's got such a good eye, but he just can't make contact. Like, and pitchers are going like, oh wait, I can just throw it down the middle. Like,
what's he gonna do?
His first pitch strike rate has gone up like 7% this year because pitchers are just going, I'm just gonna lay it in there, and like, if you do make contact, it's not going to leave the park because the power isn't. I don't know why the power is like gone from his bat, but like he doesn't have produced power. He has not had a month this season in which he's had more than 11 hits.
Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious. Go look at his splits month to month.
Oh
like
God,
he does not. Yeah, and he the first 2 months were each 11 hits.
11 on the button.
And he hasn't hit double digits since then. Like he's just not good. And this is like there's no world. Like he should not be rostered in AL only right now. Like
he should not be started in it. I think you still got a roster.
I wouldn't roster him.
It is bad. It is bad. And if the name wasn't on there, you're right. You're right. I think it's fair to divorce from the name and just say, hey, this is what we've got. This is the guy that he's been. And it's not just this year. It's 58 games last year in New York. Now, as a Yankee, he's got 131 games.
He's going to end up as a bench bat for the Yankees because
they're going to get somebody.
Yeah, because he doesn't even offer like great defensive value anymore. Like his defense hasn't been good. Like,
it hasn't. He's not even playing center.
Yeah, like I don't understand like why like he could get DFA'd on this team.
Yo, that'd be they could trade him for something, don't you think?
Who's trading for this? Like maybe if they eat the whole contract.
Oh no, he's a free agent. Never mind, he's free agent. I thought if he had team control. No, he's free agent. You're right.
He's gonna be a free agent. Like
you're right. DFA is a possibility.
Yeah, like I mean, he's just...
life comes at you fast, and this is why I really don't like this type of profile either. This is the power version of the rabbit for me. It's that all or nothing. Now, it's not exactly the same because the problem with rabbits, as our own Jeff Zimmerman points out, is that those players are often bad baseball players. Like those guys that have speed and nothing else, they're just bad hitters. I don't think Gallo's a full-on bad hitter, but the all or nothing problem with his profile, this is what happens when
I will walk
really
back
south.
my defensive comment though. I guess been a little better defensively than I thought.
I was just saying he wasn't playing center, which is usually where he can get a leg up, is to add center field value. But Judge is playing there. Judge is a brilliant defender too. So so the defense has been fine, but nothing else has been for Gallo. And I agree with you that
he's actively hurting them. He's actively hurting them and
he's actively hurting your fantasy team with a 161 average, without a doubt.
I mean, his 83 WRC plus, striking out 38% of the time. Like, there's just nothing in this. Like,
well, where do you think he ranks on the player rater overall?
Overall, 674th.
I love how deep you went. I thought you'd go too light. No, you went a little too deep, but it's 521. That's insane. That's impossibly bad for Joey Gallo. And the only thing that's saving this next guy is an extra 9 steals difference between the two. Other than that, well, I guess the batting average 164 to 210 for Cody Bellinger is pretty stark. So maybe I shouldn't try to compare them as closely just for the sake of transitioning over to Bellinger. He does have 11 and 11. He's got a double-double already with 11 homers, 11 steals. But he is hitting 210, 271, 380. We know the shoulder was a nightmare last year that caused that awful season. Is it still that? What the hell is going on with Bellinger? Is he cooked? And I don't just mean has he eaten 15 edibles. I mean, is he absolutely is he done as a star level player? By the way, do your thing, Cody. I'm not throwing shade, but everyone, that's kind of the meme with him, is that he's stoned.
Do your thing if you're doing well. Like,
well, yeah, I don't mean do your thing while you're playing. I hope he's not actually stoned whilst playing. But what's going on with him? What's going on with Bellinger?
He's playing like he's stoned.
I mean, he kind of is, yes.
Yeah, and he's really struggling with breaking stuff. You can still hit a fastball, but I think there's a little bit of a scouting report that he can struggle with some of the breaking stuff. I don't see a ton in the profile. It tells me it's going to get better.
Are you heartened at all by the 11 and 11?
That's great.
Is that enough for you to keep him? Like, we're not cutting him.
I don't think you're cutting him, but like
he's not an auto start either.
No, he's not. Like,
he's a team streamer for a hitter. Like, I'm putting Bellinger in sometimes and I'm taking him out sometimes.
Well, the hard part is he doesn't have the first base eligibility anymore, so he doesn't at least give you like that multi-positional eligibility.
That would be so much more clutch this year.
And now we're talking about a guy who's like a 7-8 hitter. Like, it's still on a great team, and so you want part of that lineup.
Sure.
But he's no longer like hitting in the top half of the lineup anymore. And so like he's going to limit his plate appearances on top of things. I can understand dropping him. I don't know that I would have a hard time pulling the trigger. But
this is 15s
in 15s. Like I don't know that he should be rostered in 10s and 12s. I don't think he should.
I think I can still roster him in a 12. A 10 is tough. Let me see where he. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm going to see where he ranks. I think at 10 and 12, he's 144th on the player rater. That's
because of stolen bases.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so exactly. I mean, here's the problem. Like, there were a lot of smart people we respect in the industry that were like, "Oh, Bellinger bounce back. The aforementioned Vlad. Yeah, I think this is an example. I didn't want to say the names because I'm about to roast them. This is
Vlad
an
Sedler,
example of
mostly.
this.
Primarily Vlad
Yeah,
Sedler. No, I'm kidding. I
I'm
love
not.
Vlad so much.
I'm not. I love Vlad. I'm not saying Vlad, this is Vlad, but some of the people that were doing it was just bad process. Like there was not much in this profile. Even if you looked at what he did in the playoffs, where he got hot for a minute, like there was not like he was riding with
base
like
hits.
he was riding with like a 538 BABIP.
Yeah.
And I can look up exactly like what the BABIP was in the playoffs. But like it was obscene like levels. Where he was
that was after I had told Nick that
500 even BABIP in the playoffs like that, and it was only one home run and 5 stolen bases. Like he still has speed, he's still a premium athlete, but his swing is broken. Like whatever him and his father did to his swing after he won the MVP has broken that swing.
And whatever Kike did to his arm when they did.
Yeah,
like they did their little
and and maybe it is his shoulder as well. Like but like this is like this blind like, hey, this guy's gonna bounce back because he is a former MVP analysis that we saw. This is exactly why you don't use that analysis. Baseball is a game of rhythm and grooves and mechanics, and when you lose those mechanics and that rhythm, you're not going to rebound like just because you used to be good. Like the whole Ron Chandler once you show a skill you own it. I believe that. Like sure. I believe like that skill is still in there, and
but you don't inherently
but you don't get to you don't get to just be gifted it just because you've shown it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important too, is that like, okay, it doesn't just automatically come back. You have to start displaying those skills, but they may. So we'll kind of see what's going on with that with Bellinger. Yeah, again, team context. I understand if you're trying to keep him, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
I have no, like Bellinger. I said, like I don't have a problem moving on from him. Like unless you like really need the stolen bases. Like he's not like I don't think there is a turnaround coming.
No, I'm with you. I don't think Bellinger is a must keep. I think it's 100% dependent on your team. All right, next up, we got a couple more minutes here for 2 more. Trent Grisham, staying out in the NL West. What's his deal, man? We're starting to get to a point now where it's like, okay, well, was he just overhyped? Is he not good? He had a combo meal yesterday. Shouts to the 06010. Congrats to Matthew Berry, leaving ESPN. Good luck in your future endeavors. The end of an era.
Oh, are we saying congrats to leaving?
I didn't mean that in a negative way. I just meant like he's not leaving on bad terms.
Yeah, he's leaving on his own terms.
So that's what I meant. Yeah.
I think that's he's going to go start his own thing, which
expand his fantasy lifestyle.
If you're looking for a fantasy baseball analyst,
but no, Matthew's a legend. But yeah, so I wanted to point out the combo meal there by Grisham. I picked up Grisham in our main when
you outbid me.
Yeah, when Dustin cut him, and he hasn't been that good for me. So I'm not like doing backflips on that. I picked him up because the talent was there. It's power, speed. I took a shot on spiking something. He was a double-double last year, hitting 242. It wasn't the end of the world, but it wasn't what people thought. I stayed bought in on Grisham because I was like, okay, he didn't quite reach the heights that everyone wanted last year, but he's not done. He's been much worse this year. 84 OPS plus. Is Grisham kind of cooked for this year, or is there a rebound coming for him?
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you going to drop him?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, damn, because I think his turnaround's coming. The last month he's showing really, really good skills, swinging outside of the zone left, making 86% zone contact. He's had 5 home runs, 3 stolen bases. He's starting to show the player that he was during the breakout. And the numbers, like this is like one of the guys, maybe the only guy on this list where I go, this is the buy low. If someone in your league is dropping him or wanting to move him, I think now's the time. He's only hitting 217 over this last month, but his BABIP is extremely low. He's getting really lucky on balls in play. I think that this is a guy. I don't know that we're going to see another like breakout or anything like that.
Sure.
But I think he is going to be what you drafted him for the rest of this season.
Oh, that'd be great.
So if you picked him up off the waiver wire like Paul did, I think you are going to be pleasantly rewarded rest of the way. Trent Grisham is one of the few guys on this list that I'm buying back. We're getting a question in the chat.
Good question from Henry here.
Hunter Renfrow or Trent Grisham. It depends on what you need.
Yeah, I got to play the cop out on the speed versus the power.
I think Grisham is the more complete player from a fantasy perspective. He has the better chance of offering you average and stolen bases. But if you need power, Renfro's the way to go. Like, he smoked the ball last night against my Giants late in the game, where I was like, "Oh man,
how
like
good
that
was
guy."
That game, by the way.
Oh, I mean, it sucked the way it ended, but
overall it was
a hell of a game. Better than my game last night in softball. And
yeah, you getting wrecked out there.
And we were up 5 runs in the last inning. We lost,
and you got hurt.
And I'm sitting there on the bench. There's nothing I can do about it. I roasted my outfield when they came back in. But like, no joke, someone had left a little kid's glove in the dugout, and someone's all like, "Hey, whose glove is this?" I mean, it's like, it's like neon green. It's like tiny. And I'm like, "It's our outfield's glove."
Get that back to our outfield now, guys.
Yeah, there's your problem. But yeah, I mean, I love Renfrow and the power he gives you, but Grisham, I think, is the more complete player. So all things being equal, I go for Grisham because I think he has a better chance of hitting all the categories as opposed to 1 or 2.
Yep. But again, if you need power,
I'm gonna
go hard on Renfrow.
I wish I had Grisham, or I wish I had Renfrow in my main event league.
I'm telling you, that would have been.
I should have drafted him over Benintendi.
Yeah. Or Verdugo, right? Because it was just that you got a copy there. Mm-hmm. It was a clone of one another. All right, our last guy here, the biggest of the bunch. We kind of went in reverse order here. Nick Castellanos is disappointing. Now, he's on a different level than these guys. He's hitting 251 with 8 homers and an interesting 4 steals, by the way. He had 3 all of last year. 4 ties a career high, but he's 4 for 5. The year he stole 4 back in 2017, he was 4 for 9. But Castellanos, 251, 296, 376. That's not what we're supposed to be with him. He's supposed to be matching Schwarber like punch for punch. Schwarber has 28 homers. Casty has 8. What's going on? Is Casty cooked, or do you see a second half surge?
God, like, there was all this talk, and I kind of pushed back at it, like, where people were like, "Oh, look at his
anti-Casty talk."
There was look at his home road splits from last year.
They didn't care because of the park he was going to.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, his power's gonna play just about everywhere." Yeah, they were better in Cincinnati, but I just felt like he'd be fine. And it's so weird because you kind of look at what he's been doing, and like, I don't know why he's been as bad as he
I don't either.
There's not a ton in the profile other than just a uptick in ground balls that makes me go, like, he should be this bad.
Why does he have a 690 OPS at home?
I don't know.
Philly's not Cincy, but it's very good.
I feel like there has just been a small kind of downcline in skills over the last few years, and maybe this is the culmination in that. And he's just not the player he used to be. Doesn't mean he's going to be bad, but
wait a minute though. Is he one of the power guys that?
And I'm wondering that
didn't quite have prodigious power.
We thought he did have prodigious power.
I know. I'm only asking. I'm actually not saying it firmly. I'm asking you because I don't know. I don't think he is. I always saw him as
he's not hitting the ball hard. It's the problem. Like, he is 28% hard percentage on.
So he's not delivering the same power and not getting enough homers.
Like,
his power is down.
His hard hit percentage is down 12% from last year.
Oh, okay,
like he's just not hitting the ball hard. I wonder if there's an injury or something nagging. But
47 to 35. That's a big dip in hard hit rate for Nick Castellanos. Yeah. Barrel rate down 11 to 8%. 3 points is a lot when 8% is average. So,
but like, his max exit velocity is just 1 mile per hour per hour, like smaller. I just
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You might be right about something nagging him too with Casti.
I do wonder if something is nagging him, and
Because
they just
nothing else makes a whole lot of sense right
Yeah.
now. Philly fans, get at us if you're seeing something on the day-to-day, but I'm looking at this profile here and it doesn't add up to the suckiness that Castellanos has had.
He should be better.
Let me ask you this then. You're going to buy. Would you buy blindly on track record for the second half?
I don't think I would.
Okay.
And I'm a big Castellanos guy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I'm surprised that you're saying no.
I think if you buy, you are buying blindly, and I don't know that there's enough in the profile. Like, nothing is bad necessarily, like awful in the profile necessarily, other than like the hard hit percentage being down. But like, his zone contacts around where it usually is, and actually is above league average for the last month. But like, there's nothing like that, like really pokes out at me and goes, "Hey, this is a buy low opportunity." In the way that I think Grisham looks like he's starting to turn things around.
That makes it maybe a cheaper buy low, because there aren't arrows pointing underneath the hood that say this is going to fix. I'll tell you what, if I was in the lower half of the league, and I'm not marrying, I'm not going on Hail Marys yet, but I'm like starting to try to make some moves that could be higher impact. Casti's somebody I might go for. Let's say I'm in 8th in a league and I'm like, a little bit power devoid. I think I would take a shot on Casti and hope that the second half comes around. It is a blind bet, but that's how a buy low works sometimes. It's not always, obvious signs that point to the rebound. Sometimes you bet on a track record and you see what's up, because I can't quit Casti yet, man. It's the first year of a big deal, which is usually something I lay off of. That's why I don't have Casti on a bunch of teams, but I'm not out on him.
He's going to be extremely cheap next year, and I'll be in.
Yes, I'll definitely be in next year. If he follows up this first half with a second half similar to it and doesn't rebound, Casti will be cheap, and you and I will be fighting for him in drafts for sure. By the way, Henry asked a follow-up there between Connor Joe and Trent Grisham. Again, I'm going to have to go toward the team needs. If you just need overall offense, I'm still going to go Grisham because of the power speed. But actually, wait. Connor Joe has 6 steals. I didn't know he was 6 of 8.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Connor Joe by a shred. I'm gonna go barely Connor Joe. I love T Grish, but I didn't realize Connor Joe was running a bit.
Yeah, I think I'd go Grisham. Or I could go either way, honestly.
That one's really close.
I'm gonna go Connor Joe. My 3-year-old just walked by my office, and
you don't know why? It's
7:30 in the morning. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we're ending, so you can go figure out why your roaming child is hanging out there. Maybe they heard about Nick Castellanos and
in her jammies. I do not see an adult anywhere.
You should go handle that. So are you going with Jason this weekend?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so look for a Sunday episode, but I hope you have a good weekend. I hope your hamstring feels better. Go get your baby, Justin.
Yeah, this is not good, but hey, take it easy.
Bye.